For the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to give an overview of the facts that the City took into consideration when preparing certainly that council item, and the position that the City eventually took with regard to the extension of Roe Highway and the Perth Freight Link and the tunnel option. So why did the City support Roe 8 and why does it support a tunnel option? My presentation today will touch on the Metropolitan Regional Scheme and obviously the Metropolitan Ring Road system, the growth of the port, road safety, traffic congestions, the limitations of the current route, the impacts on residents and businesses, barriers to the increased freight on rail, the EPA approvals for Roe 8, and certainly some points regarding the Outer Harbour and Latitude 32. I do apologise in advance that some of the facts that I will be quoting have already been mentioned by both ministers this morning. We've heard that certainly as far as the Metropolitan Ring Road system, it was first gazetted back in 1963, but its origins can be traced back to 1955 with the Stevenson and Hepburn report. Back then, Roe Highway and the now preferred alignment for the Perth Freight Link were shown as major regional highways back in 1955. And it's interesting to note that Leach Highway at that time was shown as an important regional road, but certainly not a highway. And as we've heard, that since the deletion of the Fremantle Eastern Bypass back in 2004 from the MRS, what we have seen now is Leach Highway become the default Perth Freight Link to the port. When we consider Fremantle Port and the growth, as we've heard, currently processing around 740,000 TEUs and has the potential and to projected processing of about 1.4 million TEUs by 2027. And again, as we've heard, 85% of those TEUs are currently transported by road and 15 or 14.2% by rail. And as we've heard from the Minister, there is an aspirational target to get 30% of those on rail. At present, there's approximately 2,600 trucks accessing Fremantle Port on a daily basis. And of that, 2,300 of those are using the existing route of Leach Highway and High Street. We know that as the port increases capacity, we will see a doubling of vehicles, as we've heard already. We do know that the City of Fremantle itself wishes to retain the Inner Harbour and an operating port, and Fremantle Port will continue to operate if and when an Outer Harbour is constructed. When we look at road safety, this is a significant issue certainly for the City and the State. Heavy vehicles on urban routes, on the averaging 7% on urban routes across the metropolitan area. On Leach Highway, it's 11.5%. The crash rates on urban routes involving trucks is 5.4%. On Leach Highway, it's double that, 11.1% of accidents involving trucks. What is absolutely staggering is that target jumps to 31% when we consider the intersection of Kwinana Freeway and Roe Highway. And of those crashes, 72% of them are rear-end crashes, and that's caused by the stop-start nature of trucks at traffic lights and intersections and the weaving and merging. So this is a significant issue as far as the City is concerned, and something that has to be resolved. Again, as we've heard, by 2021 there'll be a 75% increase of trucks using Leach Highway to access the port, and by 2031 a 110% increase, so more than double the amount of trucks that we see on that route today. And as far as the City is concerned, a dedicated free-flowing route to the port is essential. This chart shows the ongoing demand for the Inner Harbour. I believe it has been updated recently. But what this is showing, and we can see here that when and if the Outer Harbour does come online, we can see there's still a growth at the Inner Harbour. So as I said, a doubling of trucks in the next 20 years. When we look at traffic congestion, another serious consideration that we've heard this morning, it is real. And we know that anyone who travels along the Kwinana Freeway in the AM or PM peak period will experience level F of a level of service that's set by main roads, which means demand exceeds the capacity of that network. What we're about to see, and as we've heard with population growth, 3 million in the next 15 years for the City, and we've seen a 17% increase in vehicle registrations from 2009 to 2014. And that's set to increase another 50% by 2020. And we'll see 3.1 million vehicles on the road network. The Perth Freight Link, and certainly the tunnel option that the City is proposing, will take approximately 2,000 trucks a day off of Leach Highway. And as we've heard, by 2021, that'll be 5,000 heavy vehicles off of the Southern Metropolitan Road network. This also has a positive benefit and a flow-on effect for the vehicles per day on Leach Highway and South Street, where we'll see a potential reduction of over 20,000 vehicles a day on those roads. And there are similar future reductions on Belair Drive, Russell Road, Rowley Road and Anketel Road to the south in the city of Coburn. And there will be significant and substantial reductions on Farrington Road, Phoenix Road, Northlake Road and Bibra Drive. So this is a real positive for the entire southwest region, not just the city of Melville. The limitations of the current route. Leach Highway was never designed to function as a freight route. There's in excess of 180 driveways on the current route from private properties. There are 9 sets of traffic lights in a distance of 8 kilometres, and 6 of those are between Kwinana Freeway and Northlake Road, and that distance is only 3.5 kilometres. There are more than 20 road junctions on the current route without traffic lights, and there's 28 bus stops on the current route, and only 2 of those bus stops have embayments to allow buses to pull off the main road. And that, and again, causes problems with the start and the stop-start nature and weaving during those periods. Based on that traffic mix and the volumes we see, it's quite clear that Leach Highway and High Street would not comply with the current road design standards and operating best practice. It's simply not sustainable as a freight route, and the Perth Freight Link effectively provides, as far as the city is concerned, a southern bypass for the city of Melville, a northern bypass for the city of Coburn, and an eastern bypass for the city of Fremantle. The potential impact on the businesses and the residents here in the city of Melville and in the city of Fremantle is real. The proposed route has 72 properties affected. Of that, 46 residential properties and 26 commercial properties. And that impact varies from full acquisition to simple access problems for accessing any of those businesses on Stock Road. There are significant implications for the businesses on Stock Road. There's a potential that 500 jobs could be lost. And certainly when we talk to the businesses in that area, they believe that the compensation claim for this could be as much as $400 million. There are barriers to increased freight on rail, as we've heard. That aspirational target of 30% is a challenge. And as we heard, 14.2% currently on rail at the moment. And that is 8 trains a day accessing Fremantle Port. So simple maths, 30%, 16 trains need to access the port. However, there are some barriers in so much that currently the freight line also shares the passenger rail line. And the passenger rail line has priority at peak times. So from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning and from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the evening. There would possibly need to be a duplication of the freight bridge over the Swan River to allow increased rail. And only part of the metropolitan area is serviced by rail. So we know that road will continue to be a dominant factor in this movement of freight. The other issue is rail is not cost competitive on short haul. There are obviously terminal costs and a whole bunch of things that need to be considered, and it's simply not as cost effective as road. There is a subsidy in place for TEUs on rail, the 15.5 million over 5 years, and I believe that that subsidy will be reviewed in 2017, and obviously that is seen as a key factor in continuing to see more freight on rail. Road is highly competitive and adaptable. We've just heard obviously from Singapore experience, it's more efficient and it will remain dominant, and as we said, 70%, if we do achieve 30%, will still be by road. Community acceptance is another thing. The photograph there shows how close residential properties are to the current rail line in Fremantle, and any additional services and additional rail travelling through that area would need to consider the impact on the local community. Row Highway and Stock Road, or Row 8, as we're aware, there has been extensive consultation and award-winning consultation by Main Roads over the last few years, and as a result of that there was an alternative alignment identified, which, as we've heard, will follow the power line alignment and reduce the impact on the wetland areas. This project has its state EPA approvals and is awaiting ministerial approval from the federal government, and hopefully that will be imminent. During that EPA approvals process, Main Roads were commended for their approach to protect environmental values of this area, and they had set a new standard for projects in this sensitive type of environment. The other thing that certainly the city is concerned about is that access to the Murdoch Activity Centre and and the Fiona Stanley Hospital precinct. We've heard that 35,000 people will ultimately be moving in and out of that precinct today, and the southern connection to that precinct is absolutely essential for the free-flowing traffic on the Kwinana Freeway and access to this precinct. When we talk about the Outer Harbour and latitude 32, it's seen as the panacea. The question I would ask, but is it really? Estimated at a cost of $5 billion, and when we consider the extensions of Tonkin Highway, Ancatel Road, latitude 32, intermodal complex, and all the land-based infrastructure that will be needed to support that port. And as we heard from the Minister this morning, potentially 10 years in the making. During that time, Fremantle Port will continue to operate at a capacity of upwards of 1.4 million TEUs. Heavy vehicles will still be accessing the port on the current route. Row 8 to Stock Road is needed for access for both the inner and outer harbours ultimately. And certainly as far as the city is concerned, the panacea is that both the Perth Freight Link with a tunnel option and the outer harbour are ultimately needed. So in wrapping up, in conclusion, there is a need for a dedicated free-flowing freight route to Fremantle Port. Row 8 and the Perth Freight Link with a tunnel will reduce congestion and improve access across the southern metropolitan region. Row 8 will provide access to both the inner harbour, outer harbour, and certainly to the mixed-use precinct and the Fiona Stanley Hospital precinct. 2,000 trucks a day will be taken off of Leach Highway, resulting in significant safety improvements along that route. We believe that the current route is suboptimal, and it was never designed to operate as a dedicated freight route. Heavy vehicles will remain the dominant mode of transporting freight in the metropolitan area. And it's for these reasons that the city supports the extension of Row Highway to Stock Road and the tunnel option to Fremantle Port, as we believe this will achieve better outcomes for everyone involved. Thank you.